So when I arrived here, I was sweating when it was raining. That doesn't happen in my place.
I have some other friends from African countries. It's very difficult for them to cope with the food here in Malaysia.
To be very honest, that challenge I faced for 2 years.
How much did you make from your shawarma business?
So that's to say, if I'm selling 100 shawarma, so it will be
Assalamualaikum guys dan selamat datang ke Panigoli Podcast di mana gua sembang, lu layan. So hari ni episod sangat special bagi kami sebab kita ada David Shawarma,
The man himself.
the man himself. So dalam episod ni kita orang akan cakap bahasa Inggeris saja. So yeah. So first of all, let's introduce ourselves first.
My name is Arif. You guys can call me Arif.
My name is Akmal, but everyone may know me as Sifu.
My name is Amir.
Alright, my name is David Dengbol. I'll be your guest today. You can easily call me David.
No, his name is David Shawarma actually.
That's English.
So David, can you please introduce yourself?
Alright, it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for extending your invitation to have me here.
It's an honor to have you here.
I'm glad that I can make it here before I could leave University Technology Petronas. As I mentioned earlier, my name is David Dengbol. I'm from South Sudan. I've spent this is my 5th year in Malaysia. So I'm a student in civil engineering department. This is my final semester. And before I could leave UTP, I'm glad to be part of this podcast. So thank you once again for inviting me. I'm looking forward to discussing more and having chit chat with you guys.
First and foremost, can we talk about, out of all the universities in the world, how did you manage to come to UTP all the way from South Sudan?
All right. Looking back, when I started this journey, it was 2019. After having completed my high school, which is grade 12, I was looking forward to studying, and the course of choice has been civil engineering. And one thing that is very important is to look at which universities are good in the field that you want to join. And in my country, because of legacy of Petronas and some of the seniors that graduated from here, we get to know about UTP before I went online to Google and research about how UTP is good in engineering. So that's how I got to know UTP. But then how I came to UTP was through the scholarship of my government of South Sudan, especially the Ministry of Petroleum in collaboration with Petronas. So through all the process we went through, I was able to find my way to UTP. Yeah, so...
Sounds wonderful. I mean, what a journey. So, I mean, as a foreign student, because I've been myself as a foreign student a few years ago when I used to live in Myanmar. What do you expect when you first come to UTP or first come to Malaysia? What do you expect there, and how do the people in Malaysia treat you?
Oh, that's a great question. As a foreigner and traveling to a country you have never been before, there are always high expectations. And before I came here, I inquired from my seniors, the UTP alumni who have been here before. I got to learn some basic stuff. Going to a different country, there are a lot of shocks. Cultural shock, it can happen, right?
Yeah.
So I asked them, how are people there? What kind of thing do I need to take caution of before I go there, not to offend the people that I find there, and also to blend in, Another thing I try to explore is the weather, such that I can easily adjust. But to my surprise, Malaysia is not really different with the weather in my country. So it's like really hot. The only different is the humidity. For my country is a little bit dry. It can be as hot as like really hot, but then you're not sweating compared to Malaysia. So when I arrived here, the first day was raining. I was excited to expect rain. I thought maybe it was gonna get cold and maybe put on some heavy clothes. But that wasn't the case. I was actually removing the clothes that I had on because I was sweating when it was raining. That doesn't happen in my place. So it was kind of a surprise to me. That is on weather. And looking at the Malaysian, as I mentioned, I consulted some of my seniors. I actually adjusted to Malaysian style before I arrived here.
How do you actually get connected by the alumni?
Okay,
in UTP?
during our process of scholarship interviews and all that, there were a series of engagement sessions by
okay.
Petronas. So they invited some of the UTP alumni to engage with us. And when I arrived here, to be very honest with you, I blended in so easily. My first week here, everything was cool, as if I've been here in Malaysia for some time. People were so friendly. I had a lot of friends. I would say during my foundation year, that is 2020, before COVID, I met 80% of the entire class friends. I made friendship with 80% because I'm like extrovert, you know.
Yeah,
I
I can see
easily
that.
approach people, and they were welcoming. That was really cool, you know.
So like when you arrive here, are you alone or have you arrived with some friends?
All right. So what happened? What happened when I came here? We were actually 10 under scholarship.
Oh, the 10
But
of you.
yeah, we were 10. But what happened was I happened to be the last person to arrive. The 9 of them arrived before me 1 week earlier. Something to do with the immigration, the processes of the travel documents and all that. Mine delayed a little bit. So I came 1 week late, but my friends arrived earlier. And they were actually, you know, telling me some exciting things before I came. I was like, guys, I can't wait to go there myself and experience it. 1 week later, I was here, and as I mentioned, I met 80% of the class friends already in 2 weeks.
Okay, I want to ask something because I have some other friends from African countries because they said that at first they are it's very difficult for them to cope with the food here in Malaysia because it's very different from what you have back home.
To be very honest, that challenge I faced for 2 years.
2 years.
Oh,
2 years. And the weirdest thing, you would see me go into a cafeteria, you know, buffet setting. You have to serve yourself. But then you would see me standing and, you know, moving around, trying to find what to eat. But I would get confused on the choices. One of the challenge was the fact that here most of them are spicy. In my country, especially in my home, nothing is spicy there. So that was actually a tough one. And that made me to have, you know, a limited choice when I come to the cafeteria because most of them are spicy, right? So it gave me a really hard time, and UTP doesn't allow people to cook. That was the hardest experience I could talk about.
You know that problem isn't just for like international. You know,
Yeah,
me as a
it's-
Malaysian also.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have difficulty choosing out the food.
Yeah.
That's why UTP students always prefer to eat outside rather than
Yeah,
they stay
yeah.
inside.
Actually, that's what most of my friends were doing. There's a famous restaurant, especially among international, they call it Raman Kona.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raman Kona, you know, right?
Yep.
Yeah, most of internationals do go there because the foods are a little bit,
Yeah,
you know,
and it's not big.
mixed.
It's not that pricey, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
reasonable
yeah.
price. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically I came with my friends, but I arrived 1 week late. Yeah.
Oh yeah, now that you're already 5 years in UTP, do you still have homesickness? You miss your family, friends, food, your atmosphere back home, or have you completely dealt with it already?
I would say I was in boarding school the whole time, in high school. So that actually trained me to stay away from my family without getting bothered. And during my high school in boarding, they did not allow social media. You can have limited access to your family, like to talk with them, maybe on video call. It was very limited. So that I would say I was already trained for it. So when I arrived here, the hardest time was during MCO, when most locals went back to their hometowns. Foreign international students were most of them left on campus, and people could not socialize because of the restrictions. So you have to stay in your room and things like that. That was the toughest time that I somehow felt homesick because I could not socialize with people. Yeah,
And
but
that time, what it was your which year? It was.
that was foundation, second
that was
semester of
foundation.
my foundation
It
because
means that you still new. At
I
that
was
time.
new. Yeah, I was actually new.
So how did you cope with the situation, or you just dealt with it forward?
Um, I think when you as a person understand the circumstance you are in, and you can adjust actually to the system, because one thing that matters a lot is your mental health. And as a student, if you have a lot of things going on in your head, you can really have tough time. And I would tell you, a lot of students during those days, especially among internationals, there were depression. There were depressions. And thanks to the counseling unit of UTP, they arrange a virtual engagement with students one-on-one to help the students mentally. But I would say I was prepared for it, and I didn't feel any mental breakdown during that time. That was something interesting.
You played basketball. If we're watching UTPSS, we will see you play in a basketball game. So since in Sudan, South Sudan, I mean, you has always been into basketball,
Um,
or it's just started in Malaysia because because the crowd in Malaysia in UTP is it's kind of great.
you
with
wouldn't
basketball.
believe the answer I'm about to give you, because to be very honest, I started playing here.
Huh?
This is your first time
I
playing
started
here?
to play here.
I kind of get it.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
kinda get
I
it.
kind of
Okay.
know that.
So
Because,
this is what happened. Back in my country, I used to play football.
yeah.
But then I stopped playing football after some time because of the height. It's very hard to balance, you know. So when I came here, there was height advantage. Back home there's no height advantage because I'm medium height. You know, 6'8" is medium height there in my country. So there was not that advantage. But when I arrived here, I was like, damn, I'm missing opportunity. You know, I can be a star basketball player. So I began training here. And yeah, that's how you were able to see me. But basically, I started here. I started with the basics because literally I did not have any, foundation in basketball.
So like when in South Sudan, what sports do you play back at home?
As I said, I used to play football, yeah, and sometimes futsal because they're kind of similar thing, yeah. And then sometimes volleyball, but I was not more on volleyball stuff. I was in football.
Oke, kembali lagi. Gua Sembang.
Lu Layan.
Okay, we're back with David.
Back
Okay.
with David.
Firstly, I want to ask: did you all, when coming here, is your allowance for that your scholarship gave you, was it enough, or was it just comfortable, or was it like not enough at all?
All right. I would say it depends on your spending, because as I mentioned, Petronas is the one that gives the money. Petronas scholar. So what happened is Petronas calculated the budget that a student can spend, especially considering the surrounding in Seriskanda, spending in Seriskanda. They budgeted, and they thought it is enough if you are a moderate spender. But me personally, I think that is not enough, because again, if I'm not eating most food in UTP, I'll go outside. Of course, it's quite expensive, right? And considering trying to get food that might match my style, or the taste that I have in my country, so it would be way up compared to the local foods like nasi lemak and things like that. They are a little bit cheaper compared to those. So if I make that my budgeting now based on what I spend, it is more than actually what Petronas gives.
Also, from what I can gather is that you had a you ran a small business for the few years you are here. you are selling shawarma, right? If I'm correct.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so I want to ask, how did it came to your mind to sell shawarma? How did it started at first?
Oh, that's actually interesting point of discussion. Again, as I mentioned, necessity will make you focus on new styles and new approaches to challenges. So as I said, Petronas money, if you're spending just like I did, it wasn't actually enough. And at my age, I thought of not bothering my family, calling them that I need money here and there. I want to spend here. I need some freedom. If I spend on maybe clothes or maybe I want to travel, I don't want to bother them. So the idea came about when I wanted extra money, and I'm more into entrepreneurship. So why not I, join and generate some income from other sources. So I liaised with some of my seniors that actually were involved in some businesses, especially sales. Then they recommended this shawarma guy that I'm currently working with, and he's actually commission based. So I sell for this vendor, and whatever I sell, I get a percentage from there as my commission, and was actually doing great. I would say it was really good. Since this is my last semester here, it was actually some great experience. The money I got allowed me to spend as I wish without any troubles or thinking of asking family to send me money or bothering Petronas of my allowance not being enough and things like that.
So like you, okay, as we know, like not only you are selling shawarma in UTP, there are other some guys selling. So this we can call it as your competitor. So do they get from the same vendors from the same store or different? And how do you cope with the competitors? Because you seem to be the most famous out of the other guys.
Okay, so basically, students get inspired. I would say entrepreneurs get inspired. If you see your friend is getting extra money or like other sources of income, right? And that will motivate you because who doesn't want extra money? No one, right? So if there's a way that you can spend your extra time and engage in something that will benefit you, of course you will go for it. So it started way back. There were not so many students involved in shawarma business. And it was all this vendor that supplies a group of students, including myself. We were about 5, supplied by the same vendor. So there was no competition. So what we did is to split the blocks to avoid clashes, and also split the times. So if I go to, let's say, village 5 at 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., then there shouldn't be someone going there from my group because we work for the same person, right? So that's how we did it. But then, as I mentioned, the students got inspired and they saw that we were making money. So, and okay, as you mentioned, it was so popular, right? And some realized that, oh, shawarma is a big deal to students. So some joined and they made different shawarma, not from my vendor, and then competition started. But then the reason we were winning among our competitors is the price. Shawarma is really shawarma is good, and this vendor made it the student price. It was cheap and the quality was good. So our customers were not swayed by other competitors. They were still even promoting our shawarma, and yeah, we were really progressing well.
Okay, I want to next. I want to ask is like, I noticed that you're selling shawarma almost every day except Saturday, which is your off
Yes,
day.
yes, yes.
So how do you cope with selling shawarma and studying, considering you're an engineering student?
Oh, that's a tough one, tough experience. But then, as someone who is into entrepreneurship, you have to risk certain things. And it is all about splitting time, maximizing your time. Because when I look at my schedule before I made a decision, of course my priority is academic. But then I found out that I have some extra time. If I maximize, I can really get something out of it. So all things started with me having proper planning of my entire day, the 24 hours. I have to split study, revisions, classes, my like gym, workout, sport. I play basketball, as I mentioned, some group discussion. All those things I put together, sleeping hour, lunch with friends, and hanging out with friends, then shawarma in. So it's all about proper planning. If you put everything on schedules, and this is what I always tell my juniors, that 24 hours is enough for everything you want to do. But then you must be good planner and you must be disciplined to follow your schedule.
Okay, so for our viewers at home, how do you suggest them to start their own small business, or if they want to like generate more money so they can spend more? How do you suggest they start?
Okay, I would say I'm not actually to that point of being entrepreneur yet, but I'm on my journey there. And what I can tell you, as my fellows who want to join this journey to become entrepreneurs in the future, you just need to have the mindset, and the mindset of, you know, making sure you are disciplined. When you choose this, you follow it, and a mindset also of you wanting more, you generating incomes from, you know, unusual sources. Maybe if you receive money from your family, or maybe from your sponsorship, you should think outside the box. How can I generate something that can grant me freedom? You see? So that is the kind of thinking that you get to. And very important is not actually how much you're making at that point. Because as I said, this shawarma is not actually a big deal. Like, but the training I'm going through, the kind of experiencing I'm getting, how to win the customers, things like that, how to beat competitors. All these things later, when you start real entrepreneurship, let's say you're setting up a business, you will, you know, understand how customers act. Because at all levels, there are customers, whether they are buying shawarma or they are buying your products, it's the same thing. It's all about demand and supply. So that's what I would say. Just go out there, understand yourself, understand what you want, and then, though you get little, risk it all. Be a good planner, and then go for it. You'll experience a lot from there. And when you start something big, you're starting from somewhere. You have idea. It's not you listening to, you know, YouTubers talking about business. You already know it. You have been there. That's what I can actually tell my viewers there. So I have not gone far. I'm still in this journey. But yeah, after my graduation, now we start big deals. Yeah, that's what I can tell you.
So what you said about having this mindset of wanting extra money, right? So I want to share that I have some friends here that have their own business. Behind that camera there, they have a car rental service.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that I'm hearing that their business is very booming.
I hope I can hear of this story after this podcast.
Yeah. So you mind? I'm pretty sure people at home also want to know, like, how much did you make from your shawarma
I mean,
business?
you don't have to
Yeah, you
say
don't have to.
exact, but
Okay.
roughly.
No, I can tell you. Since I mentioned it's commission based, right? So there's no fixed amount. It depends on how much I'm selling. It is 20%. My commission is 20% of the total sale. So that's to say, if I'm selling 100 shawarma, and for example, one shawarma is 5 ringgit, so it will be 5 multiplied by 100. So that's 500 ringgit, right? Then 20% of that will give you 100. So basically, uh, 20% of it, then that's the money I get.
So is that
there's
how
no
much you
fixed
get?
amount.
How much you get per night, or
Again, it is based on how much I
How
sell.
much you sell?
okay?
So how much, like the time I work for, the days I work for, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm getting that 20%, that's it.
So you talk about entrepreneur, you talk about supply demand, demand and supply. You talk about the how the competitors between the people who selling shawarma. So why civil engineering? Why not business management? I mean, I'm a business management student in UTP. I mean, UTP has offered you business management. Why civil engineering? I mean, you said you have interest in civil engineering, but you also have the skills of selling a product, or we can say selling a value that has an impact in UTP. So why not business?
Okay, that's an interesting question. If I can walk you through my journey since I was in high school to university and all that, I'll just keep it short. During my holidays back in my country, let's say after we're done with the exams and we go home, I've not been this kind of student or a child that sits at home and wait for everything to be provided by family. I would go out and work for other people. I can work maybe in a store or something. It's just the mindset I want extra, something that I have freedom, not bothering someone. I sweat for it. I get it from my, commitment. So why I chose civil engineering is actually there's also business in engineering. You know that?
Not really, but
It's okay. It's
something
like
that
this.
I know.
It's like this. If I'm a specialist in civil engineering, like my plan is actually to become a CEO in the future. But in which field? Still within civil engineering. I can have a business. I can run a business within civil engineering. So I would say that every field, as long as you are entrepreneur, you understand what are needed, then you are there to provide solution. And something important with engineering, it gives you skills to understand the problem and provide a solution. And that is all about entrepreneurship. You have to understand the opportunity out there and design a solution by maybe a product or a service that you provide. So my company in the future,
Yeah.
inshallah,
Inshallah.
I make it.
Inshallah.
Yes.
Inshallah.
So we might be providing engineering services, engineering products. Yeah, it's possible. Still business and engineer.
Two in one.
Yeah, two in one. That's a good one.
Well, I guess that was a good explanation, and there was a good advice for the people who actually wants to do entrepreneurs or they want to do engineering. So everyone who has that kind of maybe thoughts or doubts, here's your answers already. So I guess we're going for our second break. We'll get back
We'll
to
see you right
David.
after this.
Alright guys, welcome back to Buat
Lulayan.
Alright, so this is our last segment, David. We also wanted to know your experience in UTP as a foreign student. I mean, I did say just now I was a foreign student before. I used to live in Myanmar, and being a South Sudan student here, because we do have lots of foreigner students over here.
Correct. All right. Actually, my journey of 5 years, I have a lot of experience, of which, if I was to go in details in this show,
We can't finish.
we won't finish.
Yeah, we
So,
won't.
but let me just cut the corners. As I mentioned, I arrived in UTP 2020, January. That was before COVID. So I blend in so easily, as I elaborated before. One thing I did was to understand from my seniors what are the expectations from a student. I also inquire from my faculty members or from lecturers what would they advise me going forward. I also went on to inquire with my engagement with those that are already graduating or those that have worked before, what are needed in the field. So putting all this together, it shaped my undergraduate journey. One of the important thing I got was, out there, CGPA doesn't really matter. That's one thing I heard. But of course, you must be passing. You must show that you can do it. So they recommended that if you can get 3.3 and above, then you're good. Apart from the requirement of my scholarship, Petronas wants me to have 2.5 and above. So meaning 3 and above is fine already.
It's fine already.
Okay.
It's more than good.
So I settled for that, and then they advised me to be proactive, to participate a lot in activities in club and societies, exposure, connect with different people, network, and that's basically what I did. So in my second semester of foundation, which is 2020, around May, I joined a club called ESFOS. I believe that is popular to foundation students. So it's a club that helps Center for Foundation Studies to manage students. So I joined there, and I was lucky to be head of department for welfare and humanity. I served there. We had a great team. We worked from there, and it was actually eye-opener. I was now getting to understand a lot about UTP. And guess what? In the next few months, UTP elections came about, the SRC. I joined SRC. So I was in SRC for 2021 and 2022 after my foundation. And from there, we had a lot of experience. Remember, that was the COVID time. It was tough, and through that experience, we learned to solve a lot of problems, and that's where, I would say it's good to work with corporate, like UTP management, to work with also students. We were more like advocates. We were guiding students, and there were a lot of things that we went through, and I would say our maturity level really increased, like in terms of problem solving, in terms of management, in terms of organizations. Was quite experience that I will always treasure. It was good experience. From there, since I was in SRC, I understood about the challenge that international students were going through. And one of those were that international students did not have any organization. So communication-wise was tough. Each of them comes here and they have tough experience, being away from home, right? So during my tenure in SRC, together with my colleagues, we established Association of International Students.
The AIS.
Yes. So
So
I'm
that's
one of the
when it all
co-founders.
started.
Yeah, we started it. I'm co-founder of AIS, together with other 4 students, including myself, 5. And then I was nominated, because we did not have election, right? Nominated to be the president. So while I was in SRC, I was also president for International Students Association. Things went on. You can see from here how busy, how crazy it was. Not only academic, we are handling issues with the students. How it was tough. But then again, as I said, you have to be very disciplined. You have to know what to do and when to do it. So after that, we had election after 1 year. Then I was now elected the president of AIS. By that time, my tenure in SRC has ended. So I was now handling International Association of International Students as the president until the end of 2022. Come to 2023, I was more like now going to have experience outside UTP. And as a member of South Sudanese community in Malaysia, I went for election. I became the president for South Sudanese student in Malaysia.
Wow. Wow.
So that's like a journey of leadership, and I had an inspiration for doing all those, because I believe by facing challenges is where you can easily grow and can network. So you can achieve your goals from there. So I served Association of South Sudanese in Malaysia for 1 year. So that's the whole of 2023. Now come to 2024. It was 2024 now my final year. So I had to focus on my studies, and then other business. Of course, I did not mention Shawarma. I had a lot of other commitments in there, but I was talking about leadership just now. So I stopped leadership roles for a bit, and then I focused on my studies and other businesses that were generating incomes, and then also focusing on my other businesses I'm doing outside Malaysia. So basically, it's more like I'm now shifting from university life to the real world. So as I'm graduating, at least I need to find something I can work on later. Not only job, or like getting employed, but something on my own that I worked for during my studies. I will continue from there. That's the mindset that I've been building. And I thank all those that mentored me and advised me during my studies. I was able to reach where I am. So it's a journey.
Your journey in UTP for me is a very inspiring one. It's been a very long and turbulent journey, I believe, from your stories. And but now I want to ask, since you are already leaving Malaysia in December, will you miss Malaysia when you go back home to South Sudan?
It's not just the country, but the people. People like you, okay? I remember we had a lot of great time here
Wait,
with
so
a lot of students
can you
here.
first explain like how do you guys know each other?
Okay, actually, the first time we met was regarding shawarma. It happened to be my regular shawarma. And please, can I ask you, what attracted you to my shawarma?
What attracted me to your shawarma, actually, it was as you said before, because to be honest, I don't really have a lot of money, and your shawarma was the one that had the best price to quality ratio. I was very broke at the time, so I gravitated towards your shawarma in those like hungry and cold nights.
So from there, yeah, that's a great one. And actually, that was in the mind of my boss to make sure that it's affordable to students and, of course, the best quality that it could offer. And I'm glad that we got to know each other through that. And then we actually connected and became friends so easily. So that's in everything I've been involved, I was able to make friends, and that I will always miss about Malaysia. And already I'm connected with them, so anytime they can just
Hit it up.
invite me, and I can just come. Or we had a virtual call. Yeah, the technology connects everyone right now. So I will miss Malaysia, the people, and there's good attractions here. You can go there and here. I went to Pankor, I went to Langkawi, I went to Malacca. It's very historical. Yeah, so the adventure here also I will miss, and yeah, but mostly the people that I interacted with.
Is there like when after you go back to your home country, did you ever see a future you're coming back to Malaysia for work or as such?
As a professional from UTP or from Malaysia in general, you can work anywhere. So why not? If I get an offer to work in Malaysia, it would be a great deal, because then the dream comes true of me interacting with my friends like you. Yeah, and then uh, help UTP as well. As alumni of UTP, I can have some session with students as well. So it would be a great, adventure I'll be looking up to. But generally, I can work anywhere as a professional. Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about Malaysia. Let's hear more about South Sudan. If we
A little bit.
if we were to come there,
country.
like what can we do
Okay.
there?
Okay. About South Sudan, yeah, that was another story that I've been talking to people that met me, because people know about Sudan,
Yes.
and I bet that's the first impression you got, like, about Sudan. South Sudan actually is a young country, only 13 years old. So South Sudan and Sudan were just one country, and due to some political, disagreement and things like that, I won't go in depth into the politics. But then South Sudan got liberated from the whole Sudan, and we became independent on 9 July 2011. So South Sudan is is East Africa, and it has about 12 million population. It's very small population, but the area is wide, is big, and South Sudan is considered one of the countries that have the tallest people, and we are more dark skinned. The melanin is very strong in South Sudan. even compared to other neighboring African countries. So it's very easy to know a South Sudanese based on the height and the skin tone. And yeah, I would say South Sudan has a lot of culture. I wish you go there one day, you will realize that there are 62 tribes, 64 tribes. Tribes in your term, you call it races. Like you have like
Race,
Chinese race, Indians, and
different,
that. Okay, in my country we don't call it race. We call it tribe. So we have 64, 60, then 62, then 62 languages. So if I move from one state to another, they cannot hear me. They cannot understand what I'm saying if I speak in my dialect. That's how diverse we are. So what do we do to communicate? We have two languages, English and Arabic. Those are the only languages that unify the country.
Arabic.
Arabic and English.
So you can speak Arabic?
I speak, yeah.
Can you speak?
Wow.
Can you speak some Arabic?
Indo besit. You understand that?
No.
I was saying that my Arabic is not that, classical, but a little bit because I grew up in region where people speak English a lot.
Do you wish that you have another language other than English, Arabic?
Do you know any other language?
Arabic?
Yeah.
Of course, it's good to have so many languages. It's good. It's good to have to know a lot of languages.
Do you speak Malay?
Yeah, can you
Sikit,
speak
sikit,
Malay?
sikit.
Sikit-sikit. Alright, that's fine.
I learned a little bit of Malay, and I can easily communicate few stuffs like greetings, Yeah, like salamat, malam. Yeah,
Tonight,
things like
selamat
that.
malam, man.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap this show up for this episode, do you have any last words for our audience watching from home?
All right. To the audience that are watching our podcast, first of all, thank you for choosing this podcast. There are stories that you will hear, and most of them will be inspiring. And I'm very glad that this team has pulled it out to, invite some people who can talk to you, especially inviting me here. And those that I shared with you, I believe that those that will inspire you from what I shared with you. And what I could tell you is when you are a student, you should always know your priorities. You should also understand that life doesn't revolve around academic. And that's why a lot of students will have tough time after graduating because they can't cope with their working life. So what can I say from there is that try to balance your life. Try to have more fun while you're a student, because when you leave the university, life gets serious out there. So the fun will be very minimal. So the time you get for yourself will be a little. So please enjoy university life as much as you can, but don't lose yourself. Always know your direction, where you're going, and what you want to be in the future. Always define your course and pursue it with discipline. That's what I can say. People have different goals in life, but then after identifying your goal, go for it. No matter what people around you say, no matter what your circle say, always motivate yourself. Don't rely on anyone.
That was wonderful information from you.
Thank you so
And
much, David,
yeah,
for
thank you
being
so much for
here.
coming.
Like,
we're
this
glad
is
you're
our
here.
first episode.
Yeah, our first episode, and you're our first guest. So Peninggali podcast.
Peninggali
And
podcast.
My pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, before we end this podcast, do you mind saying our tagline to the camera?
Okay, Usebang
Lulayan!
All right, thank you.